So
Okay.
usually it's in person. Um, which I love
Right.
in person. But so I don't know if you saw the video, the interview I did with Candace.
I saw a piece of it. Yes.
So yeah, so that's the plan of the series. And it was
Got it.
really great. You know, I had some really good people going and then COVID happened. And I was just like, I
Hmm.
don't want to do it digitally, but then it's like I cannot pass up this, this interview. Like,
Right. Right. Now you got to get it done. However it gets done, as long as it gets done.
right. I'm like, not with Brittany. I'm not gonna pass this one up. So we're gonna do this whole video. All right, so
Awesome. Let's get to it.
it is recording, and I am so grateful to be speaking with you. And I've been like really watching you for a while, so it's like so crazy that she hit us up when I feel like I got really discouraged because I don't know if you know, but for ladies in the industry, we had our conference coming in March, and that was going to be our fifth
Oh,
anniversary, and we got a huge sponsorship for it, and it was just going to be one of our most successful ones yet, and it had
right.
canceled. So I was like,
Yeah, I mean, I know, COVID really took everybody by surprise. So many people are being affected by it. But, and it's super discouraging, but your conference is going to come back. There's blessings in the isolation. And I'm sure, by you doing it digitally, you'll probably be able to, reach more people, and you just never know. So it'll come back around,
it was meant,
and
right?
it'll be bigger and better.
Right. It was meant. It was meant.
Yeah, for sure.
So, ladies in the industry, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about it, and then we're gonna get into you telling us a little bit about yourself. So, ladies in
Okay.
the industry, music and media, our focus is the adversities that we face within our lifestyle and career. So, we celebrate your personal accomplishment as well as your career accomplishment. So we're going to be talking about today your motherhood, you being a wife, you being a VP. I'm sorry, a president. I'm sorry, the president of
Mhm.
10K, and just your sisterhood within this music industry because you signify like such an amazing sisterhood, and I really want to target that. So
All
getting
right,
into
cool.
yeah, getting into it, how did your family like welcome your new title, and like how have you been able to like balance it all right now?
How did my family welcome it? Like my immediate family of like my husband, or
Yeah, so like your husband, your mom, and kind of, everyone.
I mean, I've been working for a very, very long time towards this, like I have been wanting to be an executive in music since I was a little girl. Music was always my plan A. I never had a plan B. I knew that I wanted to be in the music business. I didn't really know what capacity or what my options were. But I've always had musical inclination. So, like a lot of people don't know, I played the piano, the xylophone, the clarinet. I was in the band. I sang in the church choir. So music has always been like my thing. So nobody, especially not my parents, nobody was surprised, right? Because they've seen the sacrifice, they've seen, the hustle, they've seen me taking, these low paying jobs because I saw the bigger picture, and I knew that all I needed to do was get in the room. And once I got in the room, everything was going to show up because I was going to perform and outperform anybody that was standing next to me. So they knew me, they knew my drive. And so my mother, who, both of my parents are blue collar workers, middle class, who sacrificed so much for me and my brother, and a lot of their dreams were sacrificed in them having children and just needing to be able to put food on the table. And so, unfortunately, they weren't really able to dream their biggest dream and really like see it come to fruition because times were just different. And so I think for my mom, it was really good for her to see it happen full circle of like, wow, like I remember, you know, when my little girl was in her room and she had posters all around, and, you know, she begged us to get her a Sony Walkman and CDs, and she would literally just zone out for hours and like study the credits and the liners and make notes of people that she needed to read more about. And like, I've always been a student, you know? And so they weren't surprised. They weren't surprised. They don't really know what I do. They know that I haven't had to ask them for money in a very, very long time, and that's what they care about. So outside of that, yeah, my mom, you know, when I sent her some of the articles and the write-ups, of course, she was super proud, super excited. My husband is, you know, the biggest support system that I've ever had in my life. He has seen the sacrifice, he's seen the tears, he's seen the long nights, he's seen the days when I wanted to walk away and give up. And so, you know, for him, he has always been in my corner, literally since the day we met. So we actually moved from New York to LA, back to LA to take this position. And he was with it. Like he supported it, and he was like, this is an amazing opportunity that you can't pass up. And so yeah, it was really, really good to see all of the people around me who have been a part of the journey, to experience that, you know, with me as well.
Oh wow, that is so, like, that makes my heart warm, because honestly, parents supporting um, their child in this industry is kind of rare when they don't know like
Right.
what it is. They're like still like,
Yeah, I think for my parents, they know me, and so it doesn't really matter what the industry is, right? They know how I show up in the world, and I think with that, that gave them a level of confidence of like, oh, she gonna figure it out, and if she figures out that that ain't what she want, then she gonna figure out whatever the next thing is. Like she's good. And so yeah, they know me.
love it. I love it. I love it. So let's dive a little bit into work. Like you work with such a diverse roster. Me, I kind of do a little bit everything. So I also work at Create Music Group. So I'm like very familiar with 10K Project.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have such a diverse artists and list of on your roster. It's like amazing. How are you keeping up with each industry and personality?
As far as the diversity of the roster,
Mm-hmm.
it really is about one, understanding business, understanding the climate, and I think right now the climate is like this melting pot, right? Where fans are pretty much listening to all types of music, and I think in the past it's been you know, compartmentalized of, you know, this is urban, this is pop, this is rock, and I think right now we're experiencing a beautiful time in music where we're just allowing great music to be great music. And we're allowing the fan to have a very expanded palette, right? To where I can, the same way that I like different types of foods, one night I can have Thai, one night I can have some fried chicken, the next night I can have sushi, like allow us to expand our palette too when it comes to our musical taste. And so I think that's what's really, really great about today's, oh, sorry, fly, I'm outside, I'm sitting outside. I
That's
think that's what's really great
outside.
about, huh?
That's outside. That's beautiful.
Yes, outside. Thank you. I think that's what's really great about where we are in today's climate, even with artists, you know, like Trippie Redd is, you know, trying his hand in, you know, the rock space, and Ian Dior is, they're just being creative. And I think it's good that we start to blur those lines, and just allow music to be music. So one of the artists that I'm really excited about that we recently signed is Surfaces. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they have the song Sunday Best, which is doing really good. And I just feel like they're just happy music, you know, and
They released
especially in times.
they released a song with what's his name?
Elton John.
Elton John.
Yeah.
Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, Small World. I optimized their videos.
Oh wow. Wow.
and,
Small world.
and create.
So yeah, it's been great to just, see them take off in the last
They
year,
are so dope.
since they've signed. Yeah, they're so talented. So it's really great. I have an eclectic palette. I like working with all types of talent. So it's been really fun.
I love it. Speaking of eclectic, let's get into yogi. I hear you're a huge yogi
Hmm.
fan. So,
I am a huge yogi. I hopefully will be getting certified within the next year.
woo,
Yeah, because there needs to be more of us in the yoga and the wellness space. But for me, go ahead and ask your question before I even dig into it. Anytime somebody say yoga, I'm like,
you was like, I'm like, sure, take it away. No, but I want to know like who's your favorite yogi YouTuber? I want to know that, and then you can just kind of just go into talking about your journey with yogi and how it's helped with your marriage and motherhood and
so surprisingly, I'm not a yoga YouTuber. I don't know. I don't. I mean, I follow a few people like Yoga with Adrienne. She's a really big one.
everything.
Rachel, Yoga Girl is a really big one, but I don't practice from YouTube.
Yeah.
I practice from Core Power, which is a studio that I go to here in LA. I do independent practices. So, like, I very, very rarely find a yoga video and I do it from YouTube. I either have direct relationships with yoga teachers, and like, especially since we've been home, and I'll do like a private session, like a one-on-one with somebody where they're just kind of walking through. Or I'll do core power on demand, and that has been how I've been keeping up. But I personally love going into the studio. I love the community. I love building the relationships. I love leaving my house, going to a space to isolate and to just be, in my own head and in my own space, and to leave it on the mat wherever I am. Um, and so for me, I think you were asking how I got into yoga or how I found it. I actually tried yoga probably like 10 years ago and with one of my girlfriends, and I hated it. My first class was a Bikram yoga class, where it was like 110 degrees in the room. I was
Oh,
like, what the hell is this? I can't do it.
I love
Yeah, I was like, you're crazy. I can't do this. But I also was at a different place mentally where I was still in the trenches. My brain was scattered. So the idea of silence and the idea of like centering and the idea of breath work was a very foreign concept to me. So fast forward, to maybe 5 years ago, I got reintroduced to yoga, just from being at a place, in my career where I was burned out, to be honest. Like, I literally had just hit a brick wall. I was working, 18, 20-hour days, working with, a well-known music mogul, who I have amazing respect for, and it was an amazing experience. But I just had reached a peak in my career where I just kept hitting myself against the wall and waking up every day like, what am I doing? This isn't working. I've always had migraines. My migraines started getting progressively like worse, and I started getting sick, and all of these things were happening. And I had to realize, I was like, okay, I need to start doing something different. And I was literally walking, I was driving past, I drove past a yoga studio one day, and they had like a sign that was like, $30 for a 3-month trial or something very, very cheap. And I was like, I should try yoga again. I haven't,
it.
last time I did it, I had a really bad experience, but I should just try it again. And so I signed up. I signed up for a 3-month trial, a 3-month like deal. And I went and I was like, okay, I need this. And I started going like 3, 4, 5 times a week. And I started noticing how I was changing off of the mat. And I started really listening to what the instructors were saying in the room. And I started believing it. And I started learning more about affirmations and learning more about the power of words and speaking over yourself and the law of attraction and like all of these things, right? That 10 years ago or 15 years ago, if somebody would have said it to me, I would have thought they was crazy. Like, what? I'm a girl from Alabama. We Bible Belt. No. But as I started to go on my own journey, And that's one thing that, you know, I really practice is learning for myself. It's one thing for somebody to tell you their experience, but it's another thing for you to go through your own experience of that same thing, right? Because like so many people told me about, and this is kind of like segue and we'll come back to it. So many people told me about what it was going to be like to become a mom, right? What it was going to be like to experience labor and delivery. No, nope. I had to go through it. I had to go through it to have my own experience. So, and that's really what I practice. Even like, you know, in terms of traveling, right? And I know I'm going off the beaten path. We'll come back. But traveling, you know, people say things about Africa, right? And how you have this perception of the media, what the media puts on us about certain places. And my husband and I went to Africa in 2016. I was like, they don't show us this on TV. Like, propaganda is a very real thing. And so I always encourage people, like, experience stuff for yourself. It's okay to hear about other people's experiences, but you need to feel it for yourself and then gather whatever your personal experience is from it. So going back to yoga, I fell into it. Because I was at a place in my life where I was about to hit rock bottom. And I was like, I got to figure something else out. There has to be a better way. There has to be a way for me to be able to pursue my career without burning myself out, without being unhappy, without being always on somebody else's time. And I started putting intention into doing just that. And so far it's working. And I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm more aligned than I've ever been. And yeah, it's a great feeling. Everything's definitely not perfect. Listen, like I'm balancing a lot of different things at the same time. Some days I'm a really great mother and I'm not a really great executive. Some days I'm a really great executive and I haven't spent a lot of time with my son. And I'm figuring that out, and I don't really know if balance is a real thing. But I think, you know, I'm at a place where I am on a journey of like progress and not perfection, you know? And that's a good place to be.
Awesome. Oh man, I love that. Come on, I'm aligned. Yes.
Yeah, I'm aligned. I'm getting in alignment, and I'm a very intuitive person, to where I feel, and I can immediately feel when something is off. I can immediately feel when something just doesn't add up. And I thank God for that wisdom. I thank God for that discernment, especially in our industry, because people come from everywhere and everybody wants something. And so you got to be able to feel it out and know where the good intentions lie.
I love it. Protecting your energy. That's something that I definitely learned. Let's talk about sisterhood. I think it's a great segue, and talk about it. Like, you have amazing partnerships in this industry. And here we like to strive to make sure that our aspiring leaders are doing the same thing. So kind of how are you doing that at 10K? Just bringing up, you know, inspiring and, you know, future leaders of the music industry up, and who are some that put you in that position?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am very, very, very passionate about creating opportunities to educate and empower other women, specifically women of color, in the music business. And really from a place of both personal and professional development, because I think it's one thing to learn the business and to learn the ins and outs of it. But at the same time, if you're not building the muscle of your mind and personal development, then there's no way that you can sustain in an industry like this. So you have to have the mental strength as well as like the book knowledge. And so one person that I'm really, really proud of is my current assistant, who I literally hired from Indeed.com. She was she was in a stack of resumes, and there was something about hers that stood out. She reminded me a lot about myself from, moving from the East Coast to LA with no job, no relationships, but just came out to figure it out, and she betted on herself. And so I hired her simply because she showed up. When she came to her interview, she showed up with a 30-day plan of, this is what I plan on doing, and it was on point without me even having a conversation with her. And from there, I believe in grooming the people who really want it. Because a lot of people say that they want it, and then they get in the fire and they realize, oh shit, it really is a lot of work. I don't really know if I want it. And so I teach by, like, I'm not a teacher who tells you A, B, C, D, E. I'm a teacher that tells you, this is what the end result is, and then I'm gonna throw you into the fire, and it's up to you to figure out how to get to the desired result, because that's how I was learned, how I learned. No one sat down and like taught me the music business. They showed me resources to read. And my biggest mentor, Chris Hicks, literally threw me into the fire. And so that's the only way that I know how to teach. And so for my current assistant, who actually is transitioning more into an A&R admin role, because she's really just blossomed in a matter of a year, to really own it, to really want to learn the business. I'm really proud of her, because there aren't a lot of women, particularly women of color, who want to understand the back end of the business, especially like publishing or admin, which is reading contracts. And it's a lot of the what some may consider to be the boring work, right? But it's actually the work that keeps the business in business. Yeah. So yeah, like I'm really, really proud of her, which kind of leads to me wanting to kind of talk about a new passion project that I'm working on, which is a platform called Women Like Me, that I will be launching pretty soon. And I'm really excited about it. So I'm building a wellness community for women in creative industries, particularly, music, and entertainment, to learn more about mindfulness, self-care, but also just personal development, through working in this very fast-paced, male-dominated world. Because one thing that I've noticed in my conversations with women at all levels, be it entry level, C-suite, and I'm very fortunate to be able to have dialogue across the board. One thing that is very consistent is making time for self, is understanding worth, is speaking up for self. It happens across the board. Just because a person is the VP or the president or the head of such and such doesn't mean that they don't have the same type of struggles, or are in need of the same sense of community or sense of wellness. So Women Like Me, again, was supposed to be launching this year via events and kind of the similar thing to you. And we had to take a back burner, which is giving me more time to really prep and put thought into it and build my team. But I'm really, really excited about it, because I think it will be a great opportunity for women from all different backgrounds, in our industry, to kind of come together in a place that's not for networking, but in a place that is for holistic personal growth. And in that, there's other things, right? In the business and in the framework of community. So more stuff will be coming out from that, but it'll include, mentorship programs. It will include workshops. It will include, I'm thinking about doing a podcast. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to be able to touch so many, because people, reach out to me all the time, and unfortunately I can't talk to everybody one-on-one. So I feel like, with me being able to create something where multiple people can come together at one time, hopefully that will be a way that I can serve.
Oh, wow. Thank you actually for doing that. I really appreciate it. And I will be supporting.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Call me. That's something I'm very passionate about. Especially, I try to educate. I talk to my interns. I'm like, please, guys, meditate before your shift. Like, please,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
start listening to affirmations. Make sure you just come into this like with no negative energy. So
Yeah, for sure.
that. Let's go into mommyhood. So LITI was founded by two women, me and Megan. Megan is a mother, so we always like love to shine a light on the moms that's killing in the industry. So let's talk about that. What's some challenges that you've like come and faced, and how are you persevering? And also, what is like one of the most amazing moments?
Um, so let's start with amazing. Motherhood has changed my life. It has changed me. It has given me a whole different perspective of like love and the capacity to love and emotions and feeling. Like before being a mom, like I was a G. I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like very, you know, and I'm still very matter of fact, but it has softened me in a way that I didn't realize I needed to be softened. It has, and my therapist is working with me in terms of like masculine and feminine energy and me balancing out my feminine energy, which is a whole nother thing. But motherhood is helping me to balance my feminine energy. It is helping me to soften. And like one of my girlfriends, she describes it soft and pink, right? So it is allowing me to just embrace love and be loved and surrender and just see this little person whose eyes just light up every time he sees me. It's like, wow, I didn't know that this type of love was even possible. And so even before we even get to like the challenges of it, I want to say that I never saw myself as a mother. I want to start there. Like my dream and my goal and what I saw for my life I never pictured being a mom. I pictured being an executive and having this big career. I pictured having a husband and traveling the world. But mommyhood was always something that was like ooh, I don't know about that, you know, because, and I'm just being fully transparent. I didn't see it in the world that I wanted to live in. When I did my research of all of the women who were killing it in music and entertainment, they didn't have it. They didn't have kids. And so I think subconsciously, I felt like that might not really be for me, or it may not really be in the cards because I was so headstrong about career. Anyone who's known me, I've always led with ambition. That's always been my number one, right? And that's been a gift and a curse. And I had to undo it. I had to undo it in order to create space for me to want other things in my life, right? And I had to acknowledge, oh wow, you've always been so ambitious that the only thing you really thought about was like career. And as I got into my late 20s, I started to think differently of like, all right, you've gotten a lot of success in your career. What else do you want? And so that's when I started to dream about becoming a mommy and to think about it. But, you know, I think it's really important for me to share that because not every woman has that dream since she was a little girl. And it's okay. It's okay to grow over time. It's okay to evolve as a woman. And I didn't really know that. And so, because you think that every woman wants to be a mother, and I didn't. It wasn't top of mind for me. And now that I'm in the seat, I'm like, oh my God, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for knowing what I needed more than I knew, you know? Because had I gone with my own thoughts, even when me and my husband started dating, and he'll tell you, I almost sabotaged it. I almost sabotaged our whole relationship because in our beginning conversations, I was very adamant, like, if you're trying to have kids, I don't think I want to have kids. So if you want kids, like, I might not be the one. Very like, no, girl, no. You know what I'm saying? And thankfully he was very patient with me. He was still very loving with me. So where he was like, all right, you saying that now. You saying that now. But he knew in the back of his mind he had a plan. He absolutely had a plan. But I was very like, I don't want kids. I'm focused on my career, blah, 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 blah. Strong Black woman. And he was like, all right, I see you. We'll see what happens in a couple years. And Lord, we see what happened in a couple years. But yeah, I mean, it puts everything in perspective, man. It puts everything in perspective. I ain't got time to show up the way other people want me to show up. I'm showing up as me. You like it, you don't like it. That's who she is. And it took me a long time to get to the place of where I am today, right? And I'm sure you can relate as a young woman in the industry coming up. I'm sure you're sitting in different rooms. Sometimes you may be the only person in there that looks like you, or there may be one or two others. And that can be intimidating. And you can feel like you have to carry the burden of a race with you, right? You have to show up as this, or you have to show up and meet this certain level of expectation, right? I had to do away with that. I had to do away with it and just really do the work of, who is Brittney? Who does Brittney want to be? Who is Brittney creating herself to be? And fully show up as her. Fully show up as her in every single environment that I walk into. And so that's a segue. So going back to motherhood, going back to motherhood, some of the challenges of motherhood really is time. When you're a mother who's also a working professional, who's also a wife, who's also trying to make time for yourself and still be creative and get things going, the biggest challenge for me has been finding the time. And so where I am right now, like the first 4 to 5 months of postpartum was just a fog. Was just like, I don't know if I'm coming or going. I have this human that I'm now like responsible for morning, noon, and night. This is new to me. Like, I'm used to being able to get up and go. I'm used to being able to be on the phone, making calls, doing whatever. And so it has helped me to learn how to prioritize my time, really know what's important, but also set different expectations of what success looks like. And so success maybe used to look like getting 10 or 15 things done off of my to-do list in a day, right? Success looks differently for me right now. Like, I know that I'm not going to be able to get a million tasks done in a day because I'm also at home in isolation with a 7-month-old. And so I have to, one of the words that I'm meditating on right now is pace, and really being mindful of how I'm running my race, and knowing that if I run too fast, I will quickly get out of gas. I will lose my wind, right? Because I'm trying to zoom instead of running at a steady pace, which is something that a new hobby that I'm taking up. I don't know if you know, is like running outside. It's a new challenge. I've never been a runner. I've never been able to run for long periods of time. And since COVID happened, I've started getting out 3 to 4 days a week for jogs and just running and being able to learn more about just like the capacity of my body, but also just zoning out. And so I will say that for me as a mom, the biggest challenge has been finding the time. Also, one thing that they don't tell you about is assuming a new identity, right? As a mother, there's no way for you to, in my opinion, have a child, birth a child, and not birth a new version of yourself. Like, for me, I feel like when I birthed my child, I also birthed the new version of myself. We were both born at the same time. So who I was prior to becoming a mother, I'm no longer her. And there is a period that I feel like we don't talk about enough, which is the period of grieving your old self. And it is when you see, you know, conversations around postpartum, and all of these things around maternity, a lot of it is a woman coming to terms with her new identity, right? And it's a very, very real thing. And you can either lean into it or you can lean away from it and you can resist it. And so for me, I'm learning how to lean into the new version of me, lean into the version of me that's up at 5 a.m. every morning, you know, changing Pampers, and who, you know, wants to go to sleep at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. whenever my baby go to bed, because that's so very different than who I was before being a mom. I would be up working to 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, no problem. So realizing those days are done, and instead of wanting that old life, how about you fully, fully, fully embrace the new you, and you actually are excited about discovering her. You're excited about discovering like the new things about yourself that weren't a part of who you were a year ago, right? And so I think that's for me what is the most exciting is like I'm discovering new parts of myself, or I'm evolving into a different person. And I think even in terms of like marriage, that's also one thing that we don't talk about enough is like, ideally, if you're married to somebody 30, 40, 50 years, you know how many iterations of yourself are going to happen in that, you know? And so a lot of times people grow apart because they don't grow and evolve together. So even me and my husband, we've been together for 5 years, and who we were 5 years ago compared to who we are today, oh my God, it's like we're not the same people. And so what I'm learning is to extend that grace across the board to other people of like, it's okay, people grow. And so if you're the same person that you are today than you were 5 years ago, in my opinion, something is wrong with that. Like you should be growing. You should be evolving on a daily. So yeah, so that's how I'm balancing motherhood, embracing motherhood. I am acknowledging, and I am so okay to say that I don't have it figured out. I am, you know, figuring it out day by day. When people ask me how I'm doing, I'm learning how to be very honest in my answer. And not because I think we casually say, I'm good, but I'm learning how to say on those days when somebody calls me and I'm in the middle of, you know, having a 7-month-old who's having a temper tantrum in the background, I'm acknowledging how I'm feeling in that moment. I'm not just saying I'm good if I'm not good, right? And so I think even that from a place of mental health is healthy because we're conditioned to naturally just respond a certain type of way. But it's like, no, the next time somebody asks you that question, do a self-check of like, how am I feeling? And then communicate whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? And you would be surprised at like how that makes you feel. Just showing up in your fullness. Like it changes the game.
Yeah. Oh wow, it's dropping jewels. Oh my God. All right, so we gotta go. We gotta wrap it up. But I wanna end this question. I can talk to you all day. You don't even know. Like I feel like you are like my what is it called? What is it? Like my fairy godmother. Like I think it's about so. I'm just not a mom, but
yes, unless you want to be
or married.
Yes.
We're gonna have to
yes.
help me in that area too, girl. I'm gonna need. But ending it off, dope mom, dope wife, dope executive. What's the legacy that you're leaving? What's the legacy that you're thriving to end with in your overall mission?
Ooh, man. I really want to leave the legacy for my son, and for my children, if there are more, to really own being you, and to really allow yourself to dream big, do the work, um, believe in your mind, believe in God, and know that your steps are ordered. And so for me, I am really excited and passionate about being the mom that really cultivates my children in their gifts and their talents. And, I want to be a vessel to help them bring their gifts to the world. And so as far as like legacy, I just want to be a pure soul. I want to teach kindness to my children. I want to make sure that they're able to have experiences that I didn't have. And I want to leave them better off. Like I want to leave them in a better position, to do the work and to be able to have a advantage in life, really, to have an advantage, so that they can be set up right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you. Anything you want to leave us with? Definitely
No,
socials. Yeah, your social.
huh?
I said definitely drop your socials and
Oh
anything.
yeah, so I am on Instagram at my name, Brittney King Brock, Brittney King King Brock Brock. I will be launching my website soon, so go to BrittneyKingBrock.com and you can sign up for like the email list. And yeah, I'm excited. A lot of great things to come.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you so much. This was great.
Thanks. Hold on. Let me hit